So we'll start with portfolio cash management. So if you can envision $173 billion, not all of that is invested into the market, not on the Dow, New York Stock Exchange. Part of that's cash. So it's important that the portfolio managers are aware of their cash balances every single day. So if you can imagine a trading floor, which was where Kara Mandeville, who was up there, works every single day. It's your standard cube farm. And there's a bunch of TVs and scrolling tickers and that type of stuff. But what there also is a bunch of checklists that you talked about. And the reason for that is we need to control the risk and have needed to control the risk in certain ways because we didn't have the tool. So if you can imagine a manual checklist, and I will tell you that there's actually a checklist that, guess what, manages that checklist. The process runs 3 times daily. So during the day, you can imagine portfolio managers are trading throughout the day. We need to keep track of that cash balance. There's 20 different accounts, and after actually showing this to a few executives, they don't know why the other portfolio managers aren't leveraging this technology to help them. Every day, every day, 3 times a day, they would review that checklist. If it broke a certain tolerance of too much cash or not enough cash, the team sent out emails to the organization. This is the key, right? So review the PM standing instructions, email it out. We all have a BI tool. And if a new portfolio manager has a different way of looking at things, or there's more portfolio managers that need to leverage this service from trade operations, it took IT to actually update that report in that BI tool and include it into it. So fold in JTrack, and a couple of months here and there in our first integration, which was interesting for Janus, and with the architecture that we did have, we were actually able to plug in and actually gave that functionality gave that non-value added time back to the business, again, which was important. Because now, with the tool and these fun little screens, the portfolio managers now are just notified whenever they actually need to do something. Or the trade operations team is notified when they actually need to execute a trade. So that first category that we talked about, business rule automation, there it is, right? So fun little metric because the black belt in me. 98.6% reduction of manual steps. It's huge. This process, though, is repeated through checklists throughout that group. So you can imagine they are on our radar screen to do other things. But this type of low-hanging fruit, I'm sure we've all seen at the very beginning of our Appian implementation. And 4 years from now, people will go, where did that type of benefit go to? But we'll find some other things. Securities pricing. So again, the financial services industry, I've talked to a few of you around here because we all share similar processes. So again, a mutual fund, to set the stage, a mutual fund needs to be priced every single day, and there's securities within each mutual fund. And from that, this process has been one, again, to set the stage. It's a cube. Not everybody's got offices. And it is managed, again, by an individual that understands the process. We've always referred to that individual as a quarterback. Again, as a legacy process, it takes somebody that knows what they're doing. Oh, sorry. There we go. That's why I made Chris Wendling sit front row. If you don't know, he's from Seattle. So it made it very interesting for us. This is our case management project, and one that we're looking at and actually implemented in March. But this quarterback, and that's not a play on words, we actually do call them that, manages, you're done with this task. Okay, so start this task. Because it is a very short window to get this stuff done. And the reason for that is that we have regulatory guidelines of when we need to be done. NASDAQ needs it by 4:05, clients need it by 3:30, and I'm talking Mountain Standard Time. So this quarterback walks through these different processes, and then at some point they decide everything is in there, and they start our accounting engine. That engine takes about 30 minutes. I've been involved in one way or another in this process for 2 years. They try to save minutes in this process. We're actually able to put that quarterback role into the process, or actually into JTrack, into Appian. And just through the tempo feed and actions and tasks and different screens, actually able to take that resource, which is this process takes 2.5 hours, 2 hours every single day. That individual, that's their role. The reduction in being able to give that individual back to the team reduces the risk, not only reduces the manual steps, but it reduces the risk of a manual error, of something happening before it should, because we built the dependencies in there as well. We've actually had, on average, again, if you remember, 10 minutes, or this process has been trying to save minutes. We actually were able to improve the process where the average start time is happening about 10 minutes earlier than it did before that for that accounting run. Again, that's a huge win. And you've heard from the team, we've got a couple other ones within this group, because this falls into that management reporting bucket. We've spent the last 4 or 5 months within this one team looking at every single one of their processes. And the reason for that is we want to give the management team one view into everything that team does. So we got a couple of months here, and we'll have that done, and we'll move on to the rest of the organization. Because what's exciting is that the team has a lot to do. Our roadmap is very clear when you put these types of benefits out to the organization. And so the team is growing, and we see a lot more happening in the next 2 or 3 years. I think that